Arun is making his way back from work at the library. It has been a long day there, and now his feet are dragging along alternately through grass and dust on the verge of the highway. He has missed the last bus to Edge Hill again. Cars swish by every second. Everyone is on their way home, panning out into the great wilderness of suburbs for their evenings around the grill or before the TV. If he were not also, in one sense, joining them, he might have felt trapped in the web of life through which he struggled. But now it is not a car coming too close to the verge that makes him shrink, but the sound of thundering feet pounding closer, then overtaking him and passing him by. The jogger raises his hand and without turning his head shouts, "Hi!" It is Rod, in his jogging briefs, his luminous headband perched on enormous white jogging shoes. The figure slows, comes to a kind of halt, knees still pumping, feet still lifting and pounding but in one place. Rod has stopped for Anne. "Hey," he says, panting the string from under his headband down his rufous face. "Come jogging," he pants. Nervously Arun shakes his head, then smiles to show he means no offence. The idea, in one sense glamorous and flattering, of jogging beside the transcendental Rod, is too fanciful to be entertained. There is no way that a small, underdeveloped, and asthmatic boy on the Gangetic plains, nourished on curried vegetables and stewed lentils, could compete with or even keep up with this gladiatorial species of northern power. Not today," he stutters, shaking his head as if in shame. Rod gives a good-natured nod that makes his reddish hair fall over his headband onto his forehead, like a horse's lip. "Okay," he agrees, "another time," and raising his hand in midair jogs off along the grass verge, towards the red sun and the horizon arc over the hill. Arun watches him melt into the radiance and is once more confirmed in his own shadowedness by the dust through which he trudges in his dusty brown leather shoes. When he gets back to the house, Rod and his father are sprawled across the play cushions of a sofa in front of the television screen. Arun sees their outstretched legs and their up-tilted shoes before he sees anything else in the dim light from the screen. Rod's sneakers heavy with dust, Mr. Patton's well-polished office gloves and dining pattern socks. Later he makes out the beer cans on the floor beside them, and the baseball match that is being played on the screen. Small agitated figures in white crouching, leaping and running for their lives. Cartoon version of combat. He hesitates by the door, wondering if he could go in. The scene is so convivial, so inviting, and the salt smell of tacos tickles his taste buds. But having rejected Rod's earlier overture, he knows he cannot expect it to be repeated. Life deals in singles, not doubles, essentially. Mrs. Patton is washing bean sprouts in a colander at the kitchen sink. They spill over and scatter across the draining board. She gives Arun a conspirationing smile. "There's a big game tonight," she tells him. "They're eating a TV dinner. Shall we have bean sprouts together? I thought I'd steam them." She shakes the colander and it drips onto the floor. Arun finds himself nodding since he cannot convey to her what he would give to join the two men in the den instead. He can hear the cracks and cheers of the game, the pounding of cushions and the shoots of monumental approval and pain. She notices. "Oh dear," she says bleakly, "maybe you don't like bean sprouts." What can he say? "Then we won't have them," she says decisively, and folding them all up in her hands, thrust them into the garbage disposal unit, stuffing them in so forcefully that she might be angry. Arun is alarmed. But then she turns around with a close smile, inviting him to cook an Indian dinner for himself. "That's what you must be missing," she says, and begins to line up the bottles and packets of spice, the jars and boxes of lentils and rice that she has so painstakingly collected for him. There is nothing for it but to take the lentils she discovered in a health food store from her hands and sift the small seeds through his fingers, wondering what is to be done with them. He has a nerve to spill them across the table, and leave them to Mrs. Patton and run, down the grassy verge, up the blazing slopes, out of the town, into the next one, out of that and along the endless highways that ribbon through the state, through the continent. But, looking out of the window, he catches sight of the woods there, the leaves in their summer exuberance creeping up, rank and rootless, green and grasping, closing, damp stir of breath on his face, the rankness of compost. He turns on the faucet and runs water over the lentils, washes them. With Mrs. Patton watching admiringly, he sets the pot on the stove and adds the spices she hands him, without looking to see what is he adding. Their odors are strong, foreign. They should be right. They make him sneeze and infect him with recklessness. He throws in some green peppers, a tomato, bay leaves, and cloves. "Is it the way your mother made it?" she blinks and asks when steam begins to rise and unfold and smells not altogether appetizing. He cannot tell her that. He has never seen his mother cook. She would understand that to mean that he never ate at home but starved, and at the moment he has had enough of her compassion. He merely nods and stares. His glasses become fogged with the grease of turmeric-tinted steam. Now if more Americans ate that food we shouldn't be making ourselves so sick, with heart disease and cancer and dreadful diseases, all due to a terrible, terrible diet," she says. "Americans are very healthy people, Mrs. Patton," he says, "more healthy than Indians." "Ah, sure, don't you believe that? Just ask me about American health. I'll tell you," she cries. "The statistics are just awful. You go into any doctor's clinic and you'll see things that will astonish you. We don't know how to eat," she repeats. "We got to learn." It happens that just when he has poured out the lentils into a dish to eat, khaki-colored, lumpy, at the same time thick and runny, Melanie walks in, back from school, carrying her book bag on her back like a sack of stones. She pauses as she cannot believe what she sees, and stares, with increasing indignation, at the lentils dribbling out of the pot and into the bowl. "Yuck!" she exclaims finally, the words exploding out of her like a bubble of masticated gum. "What's that?" "Melanie," her mother cries. "It is Aaron's dinner. Aaron cooked it. Please do not make rude sounds about what you know nothing of. I do believe you don't know what cooking is any more. Cookies and candy bars and peanuts is all you ever will eat, but please don't make offensive remarks about other people's food." "Ew! You call that food?" Melanie asked furiously, as if outraged by the very idea. "I call that shit." She slams her book back onto a chair and walks out, hunching her shoulders like a pugilist, while her mother's reprimands follow her out of the room. Aaron sits in front of his bowl of dal. He stares at it, nauseated. He quite agrees with Melanie. It is revolting. He would much rather jump up on a candy bar than eat this. But Mrs. Patton comes and sits by his side, commiserately, coaxingly. She smiles a bright plastic copy of a mother's smile that Aaron remembers from another world and another time. The smile that is tight in the corners with pressure, the pressure to perform a role, to make him eat, make him grow, make him worth all the trouble and effort and expense. Mrs. Patton's smile contains no hint of pressure. It is not more than a mock-up. Gently it flashes a message as if on flickering screen. Eat, enjoy. Helplessly he does. When he finally gets away from the kitchen and goes upstairs to his room, Melanie is sitting on the landing as if to intercept him. She does not move her legs out of his way and he steps over them gingerly. As he does so, he sees her lap is full of Hershey bars. She has eaten some of them, and she crackles the empty papers in her hand as he passes, again as if to draw attention. He is reminded, fleetingly, of beggars on India streets, and the manoeuvres required to step past them on crowded pavements, their strategies to prevent this. Unexpectedly she speaks. "Had your dinner?" she asks, with heavy malice. He fights the urge to flee to his room and hide. He mumbles, "We do not have any. Aren't you hungry?" She opens her mouth wide so he can see the thick brown stuff of the candy adhering into her square teeth and stretching webs across her tongue. "I'm so hungry I've got to eat this shitty candy," she hisses. "I can't eat that goo you and man cook down there," she adds in bitter complaint. He is consumed by both horror and contrition. He wishes to explain why the meal he had cooked had been so poor. It had been his first effort. He wishes to apologize for her having to eat candy instead. He is on the point of doing so when he realizes it would mean a criticism of her mother, and so he desists. On the other side of the world he is caught up again in the sugar-sticky web of family conflict. Desist. Zero desist. Ending past her toward his room, he gets away from her accusingly.